This is an interview with Aidan Jordan. He's part of a charity called Wells of Life, and during the summer, I met a priest called Father Francis Mugabe in Lough, and he mentioned the village where he is from has no well. So Aidan has the charity, and we'll be able to get a well in this village. It'll cost us €8,000. I'm at 5,000 so far. We would like to get a school there at some stage, but if you can make a small contribution towards that well, it'd be great. And we'll keep you updated when the funds are lodged with Wells of Life Ireland, and 100% of the money goes to that pump. And if you're not able to contribute, just pray for this project. Prayers do work. Believe me, the prayers do work. And let's get a well into that village before Christmas. God bless. Enjoy the interview. So I'm joined this evening with a fellow Meath man called Aidan Jordan, and he's from a charity called Wells of Life. And they're an American charity, but they have a team over here in Ireland. And many people will remember I met Father Francis Mugabe in Lough, and he mentioned his village in Uganda doesn't have a well. So Aidan reached out to me, and Aidan, if you'd just like to introduce a little bit about yourself, the charity, the work you're doing, and the importance of getting clean water to villages in Uganda, and just give us an update.
Absolutely. And thank you, Robert, for having me on your podcast. And just to clarify one small detail, I'm a Wexford man, domiciled in County Meath, but not to say there's any problem with either of those counties or
Okay.
where you're residing now. But yeah, Wells of Life has been in existence for about 13 years at this stage. Certainly would not be that well known in Ireland. We've only been in existence in Ireland since 2018. To date, Wells of Life has been responsible for the drilling of upwards of 950 wells in various different parts of Western Uganda, which would be Mityana, Mubende would be the particular region. And there's a desperate need. You mentioned there the need for water. We can't survive without water, Robert, as we all know. We maybe take it a little bit for granted here in Ireland, where certainly we give out about having so much of it at times in terms of the weather, but we all appreciate, or we certainly should appreciate having clean water and the importance of having clean water and the difference that it makes to a person's life and particularly to their health. And that's where we come into it. There's not a particular shortage of water in Uganda. Their climate is such that they get quite a bit of rainfall. They have 2 rainy seasons. The only trouble is, as the old saying goes, water, water everywhere, but not a drop to drink. And that's pretty true. We've found people relying on water holes, swamps, streams. The same places are being, frequented by animals, and you don't need me to tell you then the issues in terms of the water quality. No problem with quantity, big problem with quality.
Yeah, I know. I was looking at some of the videos you sent on, and we were. I was quite. It's quite shocking to think that there's a world like this where no electricity, no sanitization, and people are bringing jerry cans to dirty swamps to collect water. And if we look further, there's a massive death rate from younger kids that are drinking this unsanitized water and picking up every type of illness that doesn't exist in Ireland. I suppose this we're just not. It's just not talked about in Ireland. We don't talk about this, and there's no awareness raised about these problems in that country.
There's not an awareness in Ireland, and and it's not a huge surprise, Robert, that there's not, because you'd have to go back to Ireland of the 40s and 50s, to a time when people didn't have running water in their homes. Nearly everybody anyway, relied on a water pump down the road, and people carried water in a bucket to their homes. And you know what? Look, it was a bit of hardship, but at the very least, it was clean water. In Uganda, they're getting water from sources that are just far from clean, and you don't need me to tell you or any of your listeners there the health implications. And the statistics are just so sad. 1 in 5 children 1 in 5 children won't see their 5th birthday. So
Wow.
that's pretty stark, isn't it? And
Yeah.
as it is often the case, it's the most vulnerable in our population that are most directly in the firing line in terms of picking up parasites, developing tummy bugs, developing diarrhea, and developing any amount of particular parasite-based illnesses because of the dirty water. And
Yeah.
the death rates speak for themselves, and just just a loss of vitality and health in those people, and not just those children. Uh, the number of people who are in hospital, you know what, if they're lucky enough and can afford to bring their loved one to a hospital, that's the other side of the whole socioeconomic situation that you're dealing with. And in a lot of cases, they can't even afford that. So,
Yeah.
sad to say, the end result is pretty obvious then. If you can't get proper medical care, sad to say, we know what's going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I've seen other countries, the social problems that they have. I've worked in Mexico and South Africa, and it's another world that we're not familiar with, but I hadn't seen the level of the problems that they had with water in Uganda. Where in other places I work, there is water available, but not and pumps available. But I was kind of surprised to see, that there are, a village with no way to get to fresh water, and
Well,
with a simple.
it results in desperate hardship, Robert. There is water available, but they've got to walk maybe 2 miles or 3 miles there and 3 miles back. And here's the other side of it. It's often the children, and particularly the girls, and then the women as well. It's a gender-based issue. It's mostly the women and the girls that do all this drudgery of lugging water. And
Yeah,
that's a whole cultural thing. We don't get into that. We'd be stepping beyond our brief if we were getting into that. It's a cultural difference between Ireland and most Western countries, and the culture in Uganda. We're not there to solve every problem, but we're
yeah,
definitely in a position. We're definitely in a position to solve the problem of contaminated water by giving these people a clean water well. And just to come back to a point you put very well a few moments ago, I spent 37 years as a secondary school geography teacher,
mm,
teaching about these issues for most of those years from a geography book, with lovely glossy pictures and loads of text and explanations and so on. But you do not get the reality of it
yeah,
until you get out there. Now, for a number of years, my school had a connection with going to Calcutta in India. Oh my God, what an eye opener for someone like myself, and particularly the students from my school that we brought out there. And then in 2018, I was lucky enough to be able, before COVID stopped just about everything in this country, I was able to bring a group from my school out to Uganda. And they were able to visit a village that had received the gift of a clean well. And that gift actually came, and I'm so grateful to them. It came from the Board of Management and the Parents' Council in my school in Navan. And
yeah.
they donated the funds for that well, and our lads got to visit that well. And my God, the reception that they got, purely born out of the gratitude of the people. And you could see on their faces that gratitude, and you certainly could also see what it meant to them to have the clean water.
Yeah, yeah. There's so much that schools could do, because recently, our local secondary school, they want to organize a ski trip for 5 days for students, and it's going to cost €1,000. And I was thinking, okay, you're bringing 50 students on a ski trip, which is okay, but they would leave a lasting legacy of how many wells could we get out of that? 50,000, 6, 7 wells we could get.
7 wells, yeah.
That
And that's 6 or 7,000 people, because it's roughly about 1,000 people on average who would benefit from each of the wells that are drilled. So yeah, and again, look, I'm absolutely in agreement with you there. And in my school, there have been plenty of trips to Barcelona, trips to matches over in England, and I would have taken my group on, trips to, say, Barcelona as part of their transition year. But we also did the trips to India, and we did that trip to Uganda. And I would say, and I've been around to quite a few schools now in the last few weeks, reaching out and telling them about Wells of Life, and they have been so receptive. And
Yeah.
you never know, some of those schools might be persuaded to next year, the year after, or whenever, maybe to take a trip to somewhere like Uganda. I
Yeah.
guarantee you the memories of the ski slopes will possibly fade and fade very quickly. But I don't think the memory of seeing the faces of the children in a village community in Uganda and the warmth of that reception, I think it would take a good lot longer for those sort of memories to fade.
Yeah, yeah. Especially when we think about that, this will actually save lives. People will be alive because they have access to local clean water, and we're building up an economy for the future. Instead of a pump, in 10 years, it could be electric. We could have power in there, and start slowly building up economy. And I think it's important that we think about a world that we can't see, that's not in our media, that's not in our social.
Absolutely. But you're so right there, Robert. And it's not immediately apparent. But if you take a child that now has clean water and the child is healthier and the distances are not so great because the well is drilled closer to the middle of the community, that child is now going to school more, staying in school longer, getting a better education, is healthier.
Yeah.
That child's life and the productivity of that child through their life is immeasurably improved.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no need to say, but let's drive the awareness around Ireland. I think we have to teach another generation that there are people that need our help, and if we can help them, then let's do it. And I think funding a well is very achievable. €8,000. I think every class in Ireland should be able to fund a well across the space of a year, and to see that well being constructed, to look in the faces of the people that will use it, and I think that it's kind of critical we drive that awareness. Back in the day, I think many Irish villages were happy to have a water pump. I do remember using them. There's still some in action around Ireland, and at least we used to, and you could drink for them, and many of those places were happy to even just have that back in the day. And we forget very quickly the sacrifices made for previous generations to do this. So I think it's up to us to get at least one well per. I mean, once every school in Ireland should be able to get one well into that country over the next couple of months.
Yeah, one would hope so. And I'd have to say, Robert, I've been around now at this stage to, I think, 5 different secondary schools, and I am so impressed with the young people of Ireland. And I know young people from time to time maybe get a little bit of a bad press because, I guess they're self-centered is maybe the allegation, is the presumption. But you know what? They've been so great. They were so warm and so welcoming and so receptive to the whole idea that you outlined there.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't our school get on board with Wells of Life and help to raise funds to drill a well? And I would have put it in the terms, look, there's 800 students or maybe 1,000 students here in this secondary school. And if each one of them, just raised €8, there you go. There's a well drilled. That's not a big amount of money. And I'm not making light of, how difficult things are for a lot of people at the present time, and who knows, maybe getting more difficult. But when you break it down into those sort of terms, it's not that hard to achieve. And the one message that I tend to leave them with when I'm finishing my talk in the secondary schools is, fast forward 2 years from now, when you're finished your secondary school education, you've done your leaving cert, you're walking out the door of your school for the last time, wouldn't it be lovely to see a picture on the wall of a plaque that's on a well in Uganda stating that it was funded by, we'll say, the transition year class of St. Michael's 2022? That would be a most wonderful legacy, I think, for any student leaving a secondary school.
Yeah. I mean, there's 500,000 students in Irish secondary schools in Ireland, Irish Catholic secondary schools. I don't know in general. So there's 500, 500,000. If we ask them to give us €1, if every secondary school student, €1, that would probably reach one of the targets of I mean, we will get what 50, 60 wells dug in that year, and that's very achievable. That
Yeah,
for any school to do, to give us €1 each
yeah,
on
absolutely. And you know what? We, we, we're prepared to start small, and you have to start small.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you know, as a small Irish charity, small so far, and still, but you know what? You got to keep chipping away. And I have to say, great credit to you and your followers and your listeners in how they have responded to your appeal for
mm,
a well in Uganda, and to my own as well. I think I mentioned it to you, and I think
yeah,
you mentioned it as well. Myself and my two sons completed a climb of Croagh Patrick last Saturday,
yeah,
and I don't mind admitting it was pretty tough going, and I
yeah,
thought I was reasonably fit, but I found it tough. But it was so great to do it, and
yeah,
felt so good when we got back down to the bottom. And then when I looked online, we have reached our target of funding a well in Uganda, not so much from our efforts of climbing the mountain, even though that was part of it, but
yeah,
from the generosity of the people who heard our appeal, to my family, to my friends, to my colleagues, to my ex-colleagues, to people in the locality, to people that I'm friends online with. I'm so grateful, and people in Ireland,
yeah.
I have to say, are just so decent and so generous.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I was talking to Father Francis, and he had actually got me a quote to do this well, and I was just doing some research and converting it back to euros, and then you contacted me, and it's amazing. The two quotes were what you're paying and what
Yeah,
we were asked. It was the same thing. So I said, look, I might as well go with an organization that has a track record of doing this, that has the expertise and it's working in that area. So at least we
yeah,
you know
and
we're
you know what, Robert, that's no surprise, I say, because that is the going rate. And can I assure you, and
mm,
assure your viewers or listeners, Wells of Life operate a sort of a, shall we say, a system whereby whatever is donated, the only thing that is spent on is the drilling of wells.
okay,
We have people and organizations that support our overheads and our running costs. So if somebody in Ireland donates to you or to me, and ultimately to Wells of Life,
yeah,
100% of that, 100% of that, and this is a claim that not every organization can make, but we can make it and we can stand over it. And you know what? That's very important to people, because
yeah,
people in Ireland, particularly in light of some recent events associated with charities, sad to say, um, haven't always been maybe as above board as they should have been. And
yeah,
that's why I'm always at pains to point out that, you know,
yeah,
that this is the way our organization runs. Every penny goes into the drilling of wells.
yeah. And it's good your charity is just focused on this one area, which is it makes it gives you great expertise in that one area, which I do like about what the work you're doing. So what we'll do is I'm going to link in your charity here, where people can donate to you. I before I even met you, I'd set up the funding uh,
Yeah,
platform for Father Francis to get a well and a school. So the first 8,000 of the platform that I have, the fundraiser, the first 8,000 I will be donating to you. You will give me a receipt, and
yeah,
we'll get that well up and running, and then the rest of the money we'll try and get a school up and running at some stage. But it's important we start with local clean running water from a well.
yeah.
And
Well, that
yeah,
is of literally, Robert, you're so right. It's of fundamental importance. And the school, hopefully, in the fullness of time, no, and I've no doubt, knowing your capabilities and abilities in terms of your ability to fundraise, no doubt you'll hit that target as well. But clean water in that locality is of such fundamental importance. I think you're absolutely doing it the right way around.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Well, Aidan, thanks very much for reaching out to me, and I'll put links below to your charity, and if I'll put a little video from your website onto this as well, so we can just drive awareness. But I suppose I would be asking anybody around Ireland if they could reach out to Aidan, and if we could ask secondary school students or even primary school students to give us €1 to give €1 to Wells of Life Ireland, so that we can get €1 per student, per Catholic student in Ireland, or any student in Ireland. Just give it, collect it up and donate it to Aidan Jordan, Wells of Life. I'll put you the link below, his email, so people can contact him. And I think this is something very achievable we can do from in the next month or two, is with €1 from every student in Ireland, we will be able to at least get 30, 40 wells dug.
Absolutely, Rob. And thank you so much for that. And you know what? I have a really good feeling about, working in partnership with what you're trying to do, what we are trying to do. We're basically trying to do the same thing. But could I go one step further there with what you have made the appeal for? If there is anybody out there in your broader audience or listenership who has a contact with a primary school, or particularly a secondary school, and if they are open to somebody from Wells of Life coming in to give a talk, to give a presentation, to give them more information about who we are and what we do, I would be happy to travel the length or breadth of Ireland, or any county in Ireland, to do so. So if you want to add that into the appeal, I'd be more than happy to.
I can do that. Yeah, I'm going to put your email, your website, and it'll all be in the comment section of the description section of this video, so that people can get in touch. And we can definitely do so much more to help you in that work. It's very concrete. It's very doable. And we're not looking for millions here. We're looking for 8,000 to do a well, and I think it's something that we can achieve over the next couple of months. So we'll work on that. Anyway, thanks Aidan for reaching out to me, and thanks for all the work you're doing. I think you've inspired a lot of people, and you're giving us hope, and that something concrete can be done to help people get clean running water.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you indeed.
Okay. God bless.
I came to Uganda with my father. He told me at lunch one day that he would be coming on this trip, and it sparked a fire in me that I needed to be here and come and do this with him.
We say water is life, but in this situation, water here is death.
I knew that there was a big struggle here, but I didn't realize how bad it really was. I met a girl, a few little boys and girls, and looked into their eyes and wanted so much for them. And if we can create a better future for them, they can change the world. It all starts with us. Everything really begins with water. No one can go to school, can prosper without clean water for their health.
This is dedicated not just to the community, but to my daughter.
Oh my God.
Recently got engaged.
No matter what age you are, it happens at a certain point where you're like, what am I giving back? What am I changing? What am I leaving this earth with? If you can start by one well to change the lives of 5,000 people and their quality of life, imagine one small donation can change the lives of thousands. And I think we can do that.